All right, everybody, welcome back. Um, Once again, thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I truly appreciate it. Check out my website, danceofthecosmos.com. Again, my name is Dan Hendricks, and I ask of you, if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel. I'd very much appreciate it. And then, so today, we're going to talk about the Nakshatra. We're going to continue this discussion of Nakshatras and exploring the nature of the Nakshatras that are related to a specific planet. Each planet has 3 Nakshatras that are related to it. So we're going to look at those, the characteristics and qualities of those 3 Nakshatras, and relate it to help us understand more about that planet. So today we're going to look at Mercury and Mercury's Nakshatras. So without further ado, let's go ahead and look at Mercury's Nakshatras. So what we'll see here is the first nakshatra of Mercury is called Ashlesha. Ashlesha means entwining, like getting involved and wrapping together. And especially we're talking about entwining because we're talking about Sarpa. Sarpa is the deity. And Sarpa refers to serpents. Serpents, like snakes, are very much regarded very highly spirituality through like mythology and through especially more so symbolism. Like the symbolism of the snake is a symbolization of transformation, of becoming something greater. And then I was even reading on I think it was Sadhguru who was talking about this, who was talking about how snakes are even known to be in like snakes are what we would consider to be deaf. Like they don't hear anything, but they are like one giant sense organ, and they are of the earth, right? Like so they're totally and completely present in what's going on around them just through because their whole body is always on the ground. Kind of a fascinating idea. So that's what we're looking at, the deity of Sarpa. We're talking about like serpents. And when I think of serpents also, when I think of the snake form, when I think of that idea, because a snake moves, kind of kind of slithers on the ground, I think is what we say it does. But you know what? When I look at like an audio file, if I were to look at the audio of me talking, what it would be is like you would have this bass line in the middle, and you would see that it's going to have it's going to go up and down. And what do we know scientifically? We know that everything travels in like a wave form, meaning like light waves, radio waves. And so anyhow, I just think that that's fascinating, and I think it's all somehow can be correlated together here. So, and then let's tie this back into Ashlesha, meaning entwining. So we know that serpents are all about us. It's like the entwining serpents, basically the entwining nature of the serpents. We see that a lot, like when we think about, if you know about the Sushumna channel, which is supposed to run, which is like our subtle spine, basically. And then around that, we have what are called Ida and Pingala, which are the 2 main nadis that entwine around the Sushumna. And those intersections of the nadis are where we find the chakras. And then we also know about serpents. We know that, in kind of common parlance, in common yoga parlance, when we talk about Kundalini energy, it's referred to as a snake that lies dormant in the Muladhara chakra, in the root chakra. And so the rising of that energy up the spine, up the Sushumna channel, is what can bring about like our spiritual awakening or spiritual transformation. And so there's always, and then if you look at the deity of Shiva, Shiva's got a snake around his neck. Like he's okay with like the fears of life. That's the other thing that snakes also represent, is kind of like the fears that we represent, like the fears of everyday life. And the fears of basically becoming realized, of going through an extreme spiritual process. And you can see Shiva's like totally at peace with that snake around his neck and everything. So anyhow, so we can see how a serpent is also related to fear, because snakes are something that can bring about fear. And then what we also know about snakes, when we talk about cobras, we talk about rattlesnakes, there are certain snakes that are venomous. certain snakes that can poison with their bite. So now let's talk about what the Shakti power of Ashlesha is, which is to inflict with poison. So the Shakti, being the energetic field of this nakshatra of Ashlesha, is the power to inflict with poison. And inflicting with poison is, it's kind of an interesting idea, because it's not like savagely attacking them. It's not like but it's more like to be able to place your most concentrated energy of defending yourself, that you place like into the bloodstream of something else that's going to wither away at that person, and defeat them. So it's not like, so it's sort of like having a very concentrated protection system is one way of looking at poison. And then what's the Shakti result? Well, it's inflicting with poison that's going to result in the destruction of the victim, to get that obstacle or whatever out of our path, or that thing that's threatening us. And then what's really fascinating when we look at the basis above and the basis below. So on the one hand, on the basis above, we have the approach of the serpent. And then on the other hand, with the basis below, we have trembling and agitation. So trembling and agitation is like the fear. It's like, here comes this. So it sounds like a fear-based nakshatra, doesn't it? But it's also, snake has something to do with transformation. So I think what this nakshatra is really talking about is the process of transformation that we go through, where we can sometimes be a little bit kind of scared or agitated because we see that, oh my gosh, here comes that thing that I have to do. So like the energy that's being put into Ashlesha. So any planets that go into Ashlesha are going to be planets that are going to put us into situations where we're going to have to kind of react at our base nature and do what we can to kind of defend ourselves in a way. And also, I really think it's like being put into the fire, basically, is the way I look at it. The fire of transformation. And really just like, this is where we actually step into it. And so we can see that. And also, of course, the nature of this nakshatra is sharp, hot, or horrible, which is like the energy of it is just like, it's just going to put you into things. You're just going to find yourself in situations. You're going to find growth by having to tackle that thing that you're afraid of, basically, and having to kind of get engaged with it. Like you're entwining with these situations. Like you're just more of like, oh, wow. You just kind of, it's like you're constantly put into situations where you're uncomfortable, and you're just having to go, and it's bringing out your fears. It's like getting into it. So we can see that Mercury, so what this shows us is that Mercury has this ability to kind of handle our fears, to get in there and put us in situations where we're able to defend ourselves, basically, which isn't really what you would think of when we think of Mercury. Normally we don't think of that, but it's kind of interesting to see that Mercury has this capability, this Shakti power. He's related to this energetic field of inflicting with poison to destroy that which is we need to destroy, but also because it's like out of fear, because a snake only attacks when it has to. A snake doesn't go out and just wants to attack whatever it has to a snake doesn't try to attack people. You don't have snakes breaking down your doors to come and get you. You have snakes that bite humans. The only time humans get bit by snakes is when we're out in their territory. So it's like, so with Ashlesha, it's like when things are coming to us, new scary situations, and us having to deal with them best we can. And then with Jyeshtha, this kind of, well, we're going to see that this kind of furthers this idea of Ashlesha. Now, Jyeshtha means eldest, one who is like the most respected or like the wisest, right? He's the eldest. And we know that like typically the eldest son of a king is the heir to the throne. So there's a certain respect that goes to that. And then we're going to see here the deity of Jyeshtha is Indra. Indra is one of the most highly regarded deities. Indra's known, it says here, the god of thunder. Indra is related to, so Indra is said to be like up in the clouds, and he's slaying the god Vritra, or the demon Vritra, because Vritra is trying to obstruct the human race. So Indra is getting involved and going after him with like his lightning and his thunder, because he kind of represents like the rain clouds. And Indra is related to rain also, and rain storms, because he's said to be up there. That's what thunder and lightning is Indra up there protecting the human race from the demons and things that are trying to obstruct us. So there's a certain amount of like victory and over like an enemy. And then we'll see here the Shakti power of Jyeshtha, this energetic field of the Nakshatra Jyeshtha, is to rise or conquer, gain courage in battle. So it's about rising to the occasion and going after what it is and gaining the courage in battle. So while we're in battle with things, we're getting the courage to continue on. And then the result of rising, conquering, gaining courage in battle is one becomes a hero. So it's like, this is the nakshatra of conquest, of going after things. It's the energy to really just energize, to take care of those things in life and just attack when we have to. And by doing so, we're able to overcome what it is that was troubling us. And we'll see here the basis of Jyeshtha is, on one hand, we have attack, and then the basis below, on the other hand, we have defense. So it's like the merging of these two, the basis above and the basis below of attack and defense, which is what we do in battle, which is on one hand, we're doing what we can to attack, and on the other hand, we're defending. And so, which is all about what we do when we rise and we conquer, we gain courage in battle, like Indra battling Vritra. And so, and then we see that it's a sharp, hot, and horrible nakshatra, meaning like sharp and hot is those are intense. It's an intense energy to go after what it is. So we see that what Mercury has the power to conquest, to take us through situations and get over them, and attack when we need to, and to become highly regarded for that. And so it's interesting with Ashlesha and Jyeshtha. Ashlesha is more like being kind of like put into situations where we're kind of unsure of ourselves, maybe a little bit scared. It's a situation though that's going to help us transform, but it's like we have to destroy something. And whenever we go through a transformation, we have to shed a skin, just like a snake. And that's another reason why snakes are related to spirituality, because it's like we're shedding one old skin. And so, but a lot of times before we go through that transformation, it's kind of a scary process. So that's one way to look at Ashlesha. The other way to look at Ashlesha is like in relation to Jyeshtha, which Jyeshtha is about, going after what it is and conquering something, whereas Ashlesha is about like defending and using our one poisonous, powerful, potent poison that we have within us, that is inherent to our being, that is part of us, to destroy that which is trying to attack us. But it's a scary situation, whereas Jyeshtha is a courageous situation. So Mercury, we can see, has both of these, the ability to defend oneself and the ability to attack when is needed. And then we're going to see that Revati is the third nakshatra of Mercury. Revati is translated as rich. And then we'll see here that the deity of Revati is Pushan, which is the sun as nourisher and foster, and it's related to like cows and cattle. And it's very much a nurturing energy of the sun, because it's one of the solar deities. I believe it's one of the Adityas, if I'm remembering correctly, which are the solar-based deities. But in this particular case, it's more of that energy of providing. And when I said it's related to cattle, what we'll see here is the Shakti power. And then when we look down here to the bases above, bases below, we'll really see that here that Revati is just just an amazing nakshatra. It's one of the most gentle nakshatras. And another thing is Pushan is also related, I think, a lot to oaths and marriages, if I'm remembering correctly. And then, anyways, so the Shakti power is nourishment, which is symbolized by milk. Again, we were talking about the cattle, right? It's nourishment because milk is something that we just inherently provide for our offspring that is going to nourish them. It's going to help them grow. And then the result of having this nourishment is nourishment of the entire world. It's a much bigger picture what Revati represents. And then like I talked about cattle, well, the basis above, on one hand, represents cows, the adults, right? The mothers of the child. And then on the basis below is calves, which need the nourishment of the mother. So this is very much showing this nurturing nature. And then the nature of Revati is soft and it's friendly. So it's very much a nourishing, very motherly, probably one of the most mothering types of nakshatras. Also, you'll see that with possibly Punarvasu and Rohini as well. But really, with Revati, I mean, it is this idea of nourishment and fostering. I like this word right here, the fosterer for Pushan, where it's just like fostering. It's like caring for, very caring nakshatra. And with the idea of rich, that's another thing about milk. Milk is very rich, so it's about really that's even more showing that nourishing quality. So that's very interesting. Mercury has three I guess Ashlesha and Jyeshtha, I kind of showed how they were related, but Revati is completely different. Nakshatra, a whole different energy, whereas it seems like Ashlesha and Jyeshtha were about like attacking and defending a lot, whereas Revati is more just about purely nourishing. And I think that it's kind of hard to see it with Ashlesha and Jyeshtha, but I think that there is like a nourishing kind of quality that we can see with Mercury, because what we know about Mercury is the planet of changeability, a planet that grants us grants and or represents, however you want to look at it, our skills and our abilities and what we're able to do in life and being able to manage many things. And you can see here, and we know that Mercury, if Mercury is placed with a gentle planet, or if Mercury is alone in a Rashi, then Mercury is considered to have a gentle nature. Now, if Mercury is conjunct a cruel planet, then Mercury takes on the nature of that cruel planet. And I think we can really see that here by the nature of these nakshatras, that Mercury has no problem, getting involved with things and taking us into the things that we fear. And then at the same time, Mercury can take us and just give us the courage to go after the things that we need to achieve. And then Mercury can be the most gentle, giving, nourishing planet, because Mercury is the child of the moon. And I think that makes a lot of sense here, because we're talking about cows and milk, which are things that are all representative of the moon. And so I think this really shows Mercury's ability to kind of go from one thing to the other. It can be either the most nourishing planet, or it can be an aggressive planet if it needs to be. So, and then this just kind of ties in more of how Mercury can operate. So I think this is really fascinating information. And I'm sure there's more that you guys can come up with, and I welcome that you add in the comment section below. I think it would be cool to start in a discussion about these nakshatras and how it relates to Mercury, and I'd love to hear it. So, or if you completely disagree with everything I've said, well, feel free to add that in the comment section below as well. I mean, that's part of the discussion. And, well, thank you for watching this video and taking the time. And namaste.